another one doesn't come out to play very often, and it's another one that's in the you haven't bloomed yet category rather than why won't you bloom. Now I got all excited with this one a while back because if you look at the very apex of that cane, there is the start of a spike, and at first it showed signs of growing. Well, it's now been like that probably 2 months and not moved, so it may well have aborted it. But what it has done is pushed up a nice new cane. Well, that was good. And along with that new cane are some new roots, but I mean this has already got a good root system for the size of the plant, so I'm quite happy with the roots anyway. But a new cane's good because that gives it another chance to possibly do that a little bit more successfully. This is Epidendrum nocturnum, and I believe the nocturnum bit implies night-scented blooms. And I've got a feeling that this produces a spike and only has one bloom on it. So it will be an unusual one if I can ever get the flipping thing to bloom. But so far, no luck. But it's growing, you know, grew that was its last cane, far bigger than any previous canes. And at least an attempt to bloom, which may even carry on, I don't know. And a nice new cane coming on behind, so a sort of progress, but still no blooms yet. Let's see what I can do with that one. My orange Vanda's going over now. It's dropping a couple of blooms a day, and it's sort of reached the stage now where those last few blooms are going to drop at quite a fast rate, so that spike will be gone soon. But oh, I've lost it. Where was it? Oh, there we are, down in there. It's got another one just starting. Obviously that'll take quite a while to get up to actually opening, but at least it's got a follow-on spike. This one seems to bloom well in my environment. It bloomed on 3 separate occasions last year, so we'll see how we get on. It might only be 2 this year. It might have a late one. It might do 2 together. It certainly did that last year. But it's a reliable bloomer, you know, as Vandas go in the UK. This one blooms nice and regular. It has good sized spikes, and they're a good, you know, there's a good colour on these. I think that's about the last bloom that's hanging in there, and even that's showing signs of going. So that'll be gone soon, and then a replacement spike coming on behind, quite a way behind actually. Now this little Bulbophyllum never comes out to play. It's a miniature with a nice tight rhizome pattern. Now I like these for the look of the plant. Shall I tell you why? It reminds me of these Dendrobium types, which I like. But this one just gets watered, you know, on a regular basis, but I never really look at it. But now that I'm looking at it, it's actually grown quite a few new growths. There's a nice shiny one there, another new one poking out the bottom, another new one, you know, with an open leaf. Around this side there's another one sticking out there, another couple there. So it's actually pushed out quite a few new growths, and as such, you know, you look at it a bit more carefully, and you look at what the new growths look like, you know, when they start and as they progress, and then you find that. Now I'll be blowed if that's a new growth, looking at the way the others have started and progressed. That could be a spike. But not being the world's leading expert in Bulbophyllums and never seen this one bloom before, we'll have to wait and see, but that does not look like a new growth to me. But it could be. As I always say, time will tell. Bulbophyllum Jenkinsii, that is. Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely little plant. Nice and tight and compact. Yeah, I can live with that one as a plant. That's on one of Oliver's homemade baskets, that one. So it's basically an open basket full of bark and then a pad of moss for the roots to get into. It wasn't a brilliant root system when I got it, but I can see loads of new roots coming off as well. And hopefully they're burrowing in through that moss and getting into the bark and getting a good hold on this mount. Because one day the moss will have to come off, obviously it will decay. But yeah, that could be a spike. You never know. And that just lives there. Short and sweet. Now this Brassica is going to get totally forgotten now because it's lost its blooms that were pretty spectacular. Look back through the videos, they were 9 inches from top to bottom. It had 4 blooms on the spike on a very young plant. But, as is often the case, as soon as the spike comes off, it triggers movement. So you can see there's a nice new growth starting at the base of the one that's just bloomed. So that's the next lot of blooms. But what I would like it to do is push those eyes. There's at least 3 showing there. One on the front bulb, and then one at the very base of the second bulb, and one a bit higher than that. I would love one of those to push out as well. But those may just be those dormant eyes that sit there in case something goes wrong with the front of the plant. So I might just get that one new growth. But it's a new growth. You know, that'll do. That's the next lot of blooms starting there. Some time away, that'll be next year. But coming on, and this is my Jenkinsii aggregatum cross. And although this has been filmed in several videos recently, it didn't get filmed for this reason. The reason is that lovely strong new growth coming out from the base there on the end of my thumb, and another one, where is it? Down in there. So that's 2 nice new growths pushing out. Now it's had 2 new growths this year, one of which was small and another one which was normal size, and now it's got 2 more coming. Now this didn't get rested last year, it will get rested this year. Now that could trigger some spikes on the older bulbs, you know, the ones that were on it when I got the plant. But it's more likely to push spikes out, given the correct treatment, on this year's new growths that mature by the end of the year. And they've certainly got more than enough time to do that. And at the moment, as far as I'm aware, that's 4 of them. Well, if I can get a spike on a couple of those, I'll be happy. As I say, it's a non-bloomer and I haven't had it long, so, but you know, nice strong new growth coming out there, and the other one's only just started, so you might not even be able to see it, but no, you probably can't. But anyway, 2 new growths coming on that one, that's good. I need to go and do a bit of work on this one. It's never been checked to see if it needs a winter rest, but I doubt it very much, looking at the shape of those canes and the way the tops of the canes look. You know, out of the types of Dendrobiums I've got, those of you that have got good memories and recall, what do the tips of those canes look more like to you? That looks more like a Latoria type to me, which means mounting it might not have been the best of ideas. But it bloomed on one of those short canes. The latest cane is obvious, the one on the left sticking right up there. So the fact that it bloomed on one of those size canes, I see no reason why that cane won't bloom. I don't know when, no sign of anything yet. But at the top of that cane, that's now in the top of the shot, is the telltale little budlet, I'll call it, because it isn't a bud. If it's going to do anything, it'll be a spike. But it's not moving, and that one's not moving either. The one with the little white piece sticking out the top is the one that bloomed. That was the spike, with a single flower on that was very attractive. I thoroughly enjoyed it while it was there. But yeah, I need to just double check on the culture that goes with this one, which is Dendrobium fleckeri. Not fleckeri, just fleckeri. It's normally double I on the end of plants, not one. But anyway, just to double check to make sure, you know, if it is a Latoria type, then obviously, you know, it doesn't need chilling down in the winter, and it's a form of continuous grower, even though it will slow up a bit. But, it, you know, that puts it into a care category. I need to know. So I better go and do some work on that little one. But it's growing, you know, it's grown a lovely new cane. So we'll see how it goes. And if it's a Latoria type, it'll push another one on soon, and then another one, and maybe 2 at once. Continuous growers. Just slow up a bit in the winter, but they don't stop. So we'll have to double check that one. Coming back to Dendrobium fleckeri, there's always an awkward one, isn't there? There's always one who just doesn't fit in, and this is the one. Now this is actually an Australian Dendrobium found in Queensland, and it has two forms. So yet again, more flipping confusion. Reminds me of the Cattleya maxima that's got an upland version and a lowland version that still has not been differentiated as different species. They're just different forms. Now this has got that as well. And it's got the larger sort of form, which this could be, given the size of that cane is probably. But there is like a dwarf form of this, that the canes very rarely grow more than about 4 inches, and that comes from pretty damn high up where it would be pretty cold, and it's a rock grower. But lower down it comes from rainforests, and as a consequence it grows bigger and more lush, but it's still classed as a cool grower. Yeah, comes from areas with a hell of a lot of mist and fog and stuff like that, you know, so but relatively cool growing, and if it comes from tropical rainforest type environments, then it obviously doesn't need too much light. So it also recommends a form of winter rest where the water is reduced and it has cooler temperatures, which says helps with flowering in the spring and summer. It doesn't say it induces the buds, it helps with it. And I think that's nothing more than replicating where it comes from, which I'm quite happy to do. So this isn't going to get the cool, dry winter rest upstairs in the bedroom. It'll just get its water reduced and its feed stopped over the winter period, which lots of others are going to get anyway. So it doesn't need any real special treatment, apart from the fact I should really try and keep it cool during the summer months. And there's an easy way to do that, is just move it closer to a fan and keep it out of the roof. Well, it's not in the roof now, so that's okay. And it's in a medium light area. In my grow room, in some places that will be classed as high light, but in here it's my medium light, so its light level's okay where it is. But if I can get it a bit cooler, then I will do. You know, it comes from up to 1500 meters, so you know it's going to be cooler in sort of elevations like that. So that's that one sorted out. I'm glad I looked it up, because it had all the hallmarks of looking like a Latoria type, which would have meant warmer and continuous grower. Well, not quite. But it's not a full dry winter rest type either. That's what I say, there's always one, and this one's about halfway between the two from what I can gather. So we'll see what we can do. I mean, it's already bloomed once a while back. I'll put a pop up because the bloom is very nice, and its nickname is the, oh, I've forgotten now. I'll put that in the pop up as well, but it's got a nickname. And now it's gone. I've only just looked at it. Anyway, that's that one sorted. I'm happy with that now. Okay, that'll be it for today. Bits and bobs and all sorts and that sort of thing. I've just had to take the one spike off of this Vanda, but its follow-up spike is only just opening and it's still got one bud to go. I think this one opened about 3-4 days ago. I know you can't see it very well at the moment, but I can. So yeah, a succession of spikes on that one, which I'm well pleased about. A lot more colour on the blooms this year too. That could be the better fertiliser. What I am looking forward to is that spike opening up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 odd blooms on that, and I can't remember whether that's the blue one or the pinky one. Well, it's a hybrid, and the first one has got sky blue in its name, and that's crossed with another hybrid and a species which is Cerulean. So it's going to be a blue one, isn't it? I would think. It would have to be a pretty dominant pink to override something with sky blue in the name and Cerulean, which is the blue orchid, basically. It's not really blue; it's a purpley colour. But yeah, that one's to come. And Vanda-wise, look at this lot. One of these is still tucked in its leaf. There's 4 spikes. There he is, look. 4 spikes on that Vanda, and that's a species as well. Blooms are unusual and incredibly attractive, and looking at the looking at that spike, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably about 9, maybe 10 blooms on that spike. A few less on that one. That one's going to blast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 or 8 on that one, and that one's still hiding, so that one's still got to develop. That's going to be a good show. And that's my tattiest looking Vanda. It's awful. But if it's going to bloom like that, it can stay. I just wish this thing would get on and grow a bit better. I need this up here. When this Kiki grows up to here, it's going to hide the worst part of the plant and sort of mask it, because the top bit's okay. This was what it was like when I got it, basically. My leaves are okay. But very poor root system on this one, very poor. I took the older part of the cane off because it was just doing no good. And for a Vanda that size, it's got one new root. It's got a root that goes around the back there, and one goes up there on the bark, and just a couple of odd little roots here and there. So there's a few round the back, but for the size of that plant, that is a very poor root system. I was worried about that plant until I cut the thing off there, and I don't think that's the problem. But, you know, everything gets a routine treatment regarding that problem, whether it likes it or not. But anyway, more Vandas to come, more Vandas to come. This one never gets looked at. This is my Rhynchorides Bangkok Sunset that was on the flipping list for ages. It arrived with a poor quality, but it had a spike on it when it arrived. And since then, it's pushed out that new leaf. That was a young leaf when I got it. And now it's pushing another one and starting another one. So the top part of the plant is growing. You know, that's good. But there are no signs of any new root tips anywhere on this plant. And quite a few of the roots were damaged. You know, they've got broken ends, which ought to be trimmed off, I suppose. I mean, it hydrates, obviously, because it's growing. But no new root tips anywhere in sight, anywhere on the plant. Not a light. I'm beginning to think I might actually take the bull by the horns and choose some of these, like if you look at that root at the bottom of the shot now, see if I can get it over a dark bit, there we go. You can see it's broken, so the bottom part of that is no good. Now I'm wondering if I trim that back into healthy tissue, whether it would actually trigger some branches. Might be worth doing on a couple of them. I wouldn't dream of doing something like that on all of them because it's an experiment, but I could do it on a couple. But not the best root system in the world. But yeah, the top of the plant's coming on nicely. I don't know whether I shall see another spike this year or not. Wait and see. But at least it's growing. That's the good thing. Okay, that's it for today. I'll put the bits and bobs together and pop-ups and pretty pictures and plant names and all that sort of stuff as and when I get round to it, and the chances are this video will come out tomorrow because I've got other things to do, quite honestly. And those sort of vids do take a little while to put together. Not an age, you know. I mean, a 30-minute video takes me about an hour to put together, you know, relative to the time it plays. That's not bad going. Don't know how long you lot take to do it, but that's how long it takes me. Mind you, I'm quite well practiced and I come from an IT background, so I don't struggle with the, you know, with the technique. I just steam through it. I can almost do it in my sleep nowadays. Anyway, that one was on the waiting list for a hell of a long time. But finally got one. Bit of a faff with the supplier that I got it from. No names mentioned, but I got it. That's the main thing. Now come on and bloom. See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.